So hello everybody. I'm just live today with no extra stuff going on. I am having a really special episode for you tonight. I have Jim Mermigis from the Mermigis law firm, who he's a civil rights attorney who has done a lot for New York State. I've been paying attention to him for some time, ever since New York State took away the religious exemptions from students. He's brought cases against Andrew Cuomo and has been fighting for our rights and our freedoms, and has been huge on supporting people, supporting local businesses to open up, discussing what the executive order means, helping people with their PPP questions, and he's open to hearing cases from everyone. So, without further ado, Jim, if you want to unmute yourself, I'm going to turn the screen over to him, and I'm just waiting for him to join us. Are you there, Jim?
I'm here.
Okay, great.
Do you hear me?
I hear you. So,
Okay.
a little bit what's going on right now. I know that you're open to hearing from people. Can you tell us a lot of what you're hearing from people around New York State right now?
I did not hear the question. I'm sorry. Can you repeat the question?
In your firm, a lot of the cases and questions that you've been getting from New Yorkers lately. What's the biggest thing that's pressing in your law firm?
The biggest thing right now is whether I should open up my shop.
Mm-hmm.
Whether I should open up my store, whether I should open up my gym, whether I should open up my restaurant, whether I should open up my tanning salon, my barber shop. Those are the questions that are, that I'm getting right now.
And I see that you were in support of a gym recently that opened up. Where was that located?
Alex Rosenstock opened up his gym in Valachie, New York. I believe it's about 15 miles south of Albany in Columbia County. And he was pretty much the first person to publicly defy Cuomo's executive order here in New York that I know of. And he was quite vocal about it. The news was there, and he opened up last Monday.
Okay, and have you heard anything since then? Has any police tried to stop him, or is he still open?
Well, Monday, a code enforcement officer tried to make his way in, and Alex is a pretty big guy and wouldn't let him in. And, he came back, I believe the next day, and issued him a summons, a ticket for violating the executive order of Cuomo, and which is punishable up to $1,000 or 6 months in jail. So we have a court appearance on June 16th for that, and that was Tuesday of last week.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been all quiet on the Western Front. I mean, nobody's bothered him since. I don't know. It's kind of bizarre. I thought for sure authorities would come in and close his gym down, but his gym is still up and running, which is a good thing.
Yeah, you know what I'm finding, Jim, is that the police are on our side. I've gone to a couple of protests, and we've gotten the city police to drive by and give us thumbs up and wave. There's been incidents where, the kids, I live across the street from a park, so the kids are outside playing and stuff, and nobody's calling the cops on them, but I've seen the sheriffs roll by, and they don't break it up. They don't stop anybody. There's only been one incident of a local municipality that broke up some kids tossing around a football at a high school. Other than that, I think with the bail reform issues and what Cuomo did to the police over that, I think that they are really not going to enforce this quite like New York City was, at least where we are in our area.
Yeah, I'm also representing a few people that are arrested in New York City. I'm filing complaints, federal complaints this week. A few were arrested, actually, and taken into a cell in a precinct for like 4 or 5 hours. And I mean, that's, to me, that's a huge constitutional violation. I mean, your freedom of speech and freedom of assembly are essential.
Mm-hmm.
And and the fact that De Blasio ordered the police to arrest people is reprehensible to me.
Right.
And we're going to be suing De Blasio in the city of New York for
Great.
those arrests.
I'm happy to hear that, honestly. I spent a lot of time in the city this weekend, and one of the things that we were discussing was the situation in New York City. And I saw that de Blasio changed his arresting of the masks just recently.
Yes, yes. But he did say today that if anybody's caught swimming in a New York City beach, they will be personally yanked out of the water and arrested.
Oh, really? So, and he does have police officers down there to enforce.
Yeah, according to De Blasio, if you're in the water swimming, you will be personally yanked out of the water and arrested.
And that's
It's
unconstitutional.
the great times that we're living in, let me tell you.
Right. What would you say to the small business that wants to open up? Do you think that they should?
Absolutely. Open up.
And
Open up, because you know what? The government's not going to take care of you.
right.
You can only take care of yourself, and you cannot rely on the government. Open up. Most people that I know have put their life savings into their businesses. They can't support their families. They haven't received any type of funding from the government. People that I know have not even received unemployment checks or unemployment relief. And you can't. Enough's enough already. Most people that I know, they've maxed out their credit cards.
Yeah.
They're behind on their mortgages, their rent. Go back to work. Go back to work. If everybody goes back to work, they can't enforce it on everybody.
Right.
And just take the gym owner last week. He decided to open up his gym. He had an altercation for the first 2 days, and they haven't bothered him since.
And he stayed open?
I'm not saying... I'm sorry?
He still stayed open?
He's still open.
Great.
Still open. Yeah, it's great.
Well, one thing that I see here in Onondaga County, we're in phase 1 of opening, but that doesn't really mean too much. I think it opened up for some construction.
I really don't know what these phases mean and all these steps. It's insanity.
Right.
It is so painful to listen to Cuomo about everything that needs to be done to open your business. I feel like just, about surrendering. I give up. I mean, if all these things have to happen and I have to do all these things, I mean, why bother?
Agreed, because that's another point that I brought up, is that the New York State regulations, and that's part of the reason I chose to back away from daycare. Honestly, I was willing to have them come in and see that I have like a safe business to have children and I know what I'm doing, but the paperwork is so much of a distraction and it must be done and it's mandatory. So once all of these New York State laws started coming into play with mandatory vaccines, and that was going to be introduced into daycare, and then this virus outbreak happened, I decided to say I'm all set because of the New York State regulations. I wasn't going to say show vaccination records for every child I watch every time they come over, and it's just very much excessive. So I feel that with me personally knowing that for my business, I can only imagine COVID-19, because they're going to be having so many regulations, and if the Department of Health is checking up, I mean, during this time, I feel like it's going to be a very difficult time with them enforcing this, and literally, if they can open up, the regulations will shut them down.
Sure. I agree. I agree.
One
of the important things I want people to know, anybody's listening to us right now, is if you have a small business, I've had a few people contact me over the last 48 hours that they're being threatened that their liquor license is going to be taken away, or that their certificate of occupancy is going to be taken away. And no, they cannot threaten you with these actions for opening up your business. The only thing that the executive order says, that if you violate the executive order, you're in violation of Public Health Law 12, Section 12, and that is the only thing that could happen to you. They cannot take away your certificate of occupancy. They cannot take away your liquor license. These are all veiled threats where they're trying to bully you into closing. Okay, and do not listen to these threats. You have rights.
So the threats, if a restaurant or a bar were to open, they're threats. They can try to have police enforce these, but this is something that you could represent in a court of law to fight that they don't have these rights.
Yeah, someone contacted me tonight where he got a letter from a local authority. It says if you open your outdoor restaurant, which is an outdoor restaurant, I will have your liquor license revoked.
Right.
And that's absurd. You cannot. That is not one of the punishable. That is not one of the punishments for violating the executive order. You can't just make up punishments for violating the executive order. The executive order says that if you disobey the executive order, you're charged with violating public health law section 12
right.
or 12G, whatever it is. And that's it. You don't lose your liquor license. So I want people to know that. I know there were a lot of restaurant owners in Onondaga County that are looking to open.
Yes.
So if they get threatened with their liquor license, that's not true.
Well, that's good to know, because we were going to throw a socially distant parking lot party this Saturday at a very large restaurant that has been very upset to open and has had it. So he's going to supply the beer, and we're going to provide a parking spot and an adjacent parking spot where you can cook out and grill in this beautiful 80-degree weather that we're going to have. And we're going to have some live music and have a good time. But he's been very anxious to open up because he has a banquet center as well. They serve alcohol in their restaurant, and that was his fear too. So that will be wonderful information to pass on to him. This weekend there was this church that has never shut their doors that I went and visited because they were at Open New York protest with me on Friday. And so I'm starting to see a lot of people wanting to, are willing to let the police come and arrest them because they'll challenge it. And I'm happy to see that happening. But Onondaga County Executive Ryan McMahon, he actually is kind of following in line with Andrew Cuomo right now and is threatening to issue $2,000 fines to businesses that open up.
Yeah.
So what do we do about Ryan?
Listen, take it, threaten it. I represented people that got arrested where the fines were $2,000, and I got them knocked down to like $100 or $200, and most of the people did like a GoFundMe, and they got plenty of money to pay their fine. And so I wouldn't worry about the fines. To me, they're still unenforceable because the executive order is unconstitutional. So if somebody gets a lot of fines, that's worth fighting for in court. And, I'm going with the premise now. I'm representing several people. I'm serving local authorities with a letter detailing my clients' constitutional rights and their belief in them and their willingness to follow their constitutional rights. And if they shut down the business, then we would file for an injunction in court to get the business open and to declare the executive order as unconstitutional. So far, everybody that I've represented nobody has been shut down yet. So that's a good thing.
Absolutely. That's really great.
Yeah.
And how about unemployment? I know we were talking about that, and I was trying to gather up some people who still have not gotten their unemployment. Have you heard any more about that, or is there any more people jumping aboard?
What do you mean as far as when people should expect to get payments?
Well, no, I mean, there's people who haven't gotten any payments, like me, still. Yeah. And it's been since I actually, which is funny, I had a random email that said to me to apply for a PUI, right? But I haven't been able to complete my regular unemployment claim by the phone, which the internet was requesting me to do, that I had to complete my claim via phone. And so I was denied pandemic unemployment for a reason that they tell you is valid. And so I happened to log back in to see, like, possibly could I apply again. And now my regular unemployment is unlocked. So I claimed last week, and it stated, why haven't you claimed since March 15th?
It's absolutely insane. The computer system is archaic. As far as pandemic, what people should know, self-employed and sole proprietors are entitled to pandemic unemployment insurance. So
Right.
that's a $600 a month, $600 a week payment, and that's from the federal government. So,
Yeah.
If you're a sole practitioner, you don't think, or if if you do gigs, or if self-employed, you're entitled to that $600 a week. So that's something that those people could get, and I think that's only good for like maybe until the end of July, from what I'm hearing.
Right.
And the funny thing is that Trump wanted to do that directly to
Yes.
the people of New York State, but Cuomo said, no, why don't you just give us the money and we'll do it through our archaic, unemployment system, which is probably, I looked at it because a client asked me to look at it and try to apply for unemployment, and it is so archaic. I mean, it's the worst website. It's an embarrassment to even live in the state to see a website like that. I mean, it's something from like the 90s. It's so archaic, and I can understand people's frustrations. That's why I'm telling everybody, open up your shops, open up your stores, open up your businesses. You have every right. The law is unconstitutional, and I'll be honest with you. I had an interview today with the Washington Post.
Wonderful.
With regards, and that's one of the most liberal newspapers in the world. And they were giving me some tough questions about the executive orders and why we're challenging them and whatnot. But even them, they understood that it's been 70 something days now that people are on lockdown. Enough's enough. So
Yeah.
I thought that was encouraging, and there's just you're not going to get help from the government. Open up your businesses before you lose everything you have.
Yeah, before you're not able to open up.
Landlords too.
Yeah.
Negotiate with your landlords.
Yeah, I think most landlords are pretty lenient. However, I do know that there are some issues, and I'm sure many, many more will arise. Masks. I don't know how to. I have been arguing with people to tell them that this is not a law for a little while now. And you guys, this is a civil rights attorney. I want you to hear it from him. Can you explain how this is not a law?
It's really not a law, and even Cuomo said it's not really a law. You can't force someone to wear a mask. Basically, he only said, people have gotten really out of control with the masks. I see people driving alone in a car and they're wearing a mask, which is utterly ridiculous.
I see people walking their kids outside with masks on.
Yeah, and what Cuomo said that you should only wear a mask if you cannot practice social distancing. So if you can keep within 6 feet of each other, you don't have to wear a mask. So, but then again, it's an executive order. It's not the law. They're all recommendations as far as I'm concerned. And I basically go around maskless. I don't wear masks.
I don't either. Unless I have to go into a store to go grocery shopping and they require it and to make other people more comfortable. I do what I got to do and get right out of there just to not have the issue. But as far as my life is concerned, forget about the masks.
Yeah, to me, they're optional. They can't enforce it. If they really could, they'd be arresting everybody without a mask, and they know they can't do it. It's utterly stupid. And anybody, you got Gestapo people wearing masks, trying to enforce it on others as well. And, but the bottom line is it's not an enforceable thing. You cannot force people to wear a mask.
Absolutely. Well, Jim, I think that I just saw a post, and it was up in Lake George, and it said, "We're opening up our beach, but you must wear your mask, and it's the law.
See,
And so,
that is absolutely absurd. Needless to say, I will not be visiting that beach.
well, I was thinking we should maybe go visit with no masks.
Yeah, it's absolutely crazy.
It
This mask
is.
thing is totally out of control.
It is
Okay.
because De Blasio was actually arresting people. They said, and it was like disproportionately. They were arresting mostly black people for violating these stay-at-home orders or not wearing masks, and they were likening it to the stop and frisk all over again.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
I can't imagine.
It's totally unenforceable and unconstitutional. And you do not have to wear a mask. Okay, there's no law that says that you have to wear a mask. If people choose and actually believe that they'll be safer with a mask, so be it. Wear your mask. But
Right.
don't enforce it on me. That's it.
Yep, absolutely. And as we know now, like he's reversed the policy. He won't be having people arrested for that now because he knows it can't stick. They're gonna arrest. They could have arrested 100 people for wearing masks, but when it's time to get processed, these people, it doesn't matter. It's not gonna stand up or stick. So all they are doing is inconveniencing people by making them have to go through the justice system for a period of time. But this is like what we actually really need to do. We have to be willing or brave enough to go out and not wear the mask, or go out and open up your business and be willing to say, okay, I'll take that fine because I'll go to court and end up having a field day with you, essentially. And
Look at the Dallas salon owner who opened up her business. She was concerned about her employees as well. She had to feed her family, opened up her business, kept getting summons after summons after summons, finally appeared in court. Judge asked her to apologize. She refused to apologize. Judge called her selfish.
Yep.
She said, it's not selfish to want to feed your family. And she was sentenced to jail.
Yep.
And a day or two later, she was out and she became a national hero.
Yep. And everybody raised a lot of money for her. I heard that she was going to give back to the community, and then the governor stepped in and said, "No, we're not going to." She's going to be able to open in 2 days, anyways. This is absurd.
Yeah, that's the great state of Texas. The governor was apologetic. The lieutenant governor paid for all the attorney's fees, and the attorney general demanded that she be released. I mean, for that to ever happen in New York, it would totally be Armageddon, because you would never get an apology from Cuomo, let alone Letitia James. So that's not happening in New York. But it's good to see that some states still.
Well, I feel where we are here in Central New York, we have some very, very good police and district attorneys, that have been through the wire with our Second Amendment rights, and then with the bail reform and discovery bill. That hasn't been fixed. That's still an issue. We let all of these criminals out who've reoffended. So our police, our law enforcement is just as fed up with Andrew Cuomo as the rest of us. And we really have a unique option, or opportunity right now, where we have deprivation of rights under color of law, which essentially means that the federal government, Trump and Attorney Barr, they want to hear from us about these situations that our Democratic governors are doing that are infringing upon our rights. And they're willing to look into those cases and investigate them. And I think that our police also know that. It's like they have a choice. Are we going to carry out this executive order that is questionable at best against the people, or possibly we'll run into someone educated enough who could give our name, And I think that with the way things are, we're in a really special and unique situation in which our law enforcement seems to really be protecting the people right now.
I agree. And even the gym owners today, their issues, they made it very clear they do not have issues with law enforcement. They respect the fact that they have a job to do, and their issues are with the politics involved with these executive orders. They have absolutely no issues with law enforcement, with the police. They just have a problem with Governor Murphy's executive order.
Yeah, I saw that in New Jersey today. Another gym opened up, and the police showed up and said, "Have a great day."
Have a great day. They
Have
did
a
come
great.
back. I think they got in trouble for that. And they came back about 45 minutes later and issued a summons.
Okay.
But they did not close the gym down. They allowed the gym to stay open, and they just issued a summons again, and that was that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it will be interesting to see over the next week or two as businesses and churches continue to open up their doors, what will and will not be enforced, and at what level.
Should be open.
I
Churches
agree.
Should be open. That's the easiest thing. You got a freedom of religion, freedom, to pray, and I'm just surprised that more churches have not protested this. I mean, I offered local churches where I live in Long Island to file actions, against the executive orders, but I got crickets. Nobody wanted to open.
The same thing that we heard about from a reverend that I went to support this week, and he's never shut his doors. However, he reached out to other churches to see if they would join, and nothing. So he's just silently been doing it, and I think the reality of the situation is that they're saying that churches won't even be able to open until like phase 4 of opening, because Cuomo was saying it's not about freedom of religion, it's about the social distancing and the safety of it, and because churches could gather with hundreds of people. However, we know that the virus now with science and data is not even a deadly virus, and Cuomo needs to be investigated for murder, quite frankly. So with that being said, I think a lot of people are just not afraid. And I actually got some feedback today of someone questioning me as to, oh my God, what churches are open that you were at? And I said, well, there's a few of them, And then they said, but no one was wearing masks. And I said, why would they be?
Yeah.
I guess it's just, there's a few of us. It seems that we're a little bit outnumbered, but I hope that people will realize their rights and look more into what's really taking place, because nothing is any different when you step outside and enjoy this world as we have it. It's just really a restrictive measure, and seeing, this new normal that they say, like, screw that. I'm out here without a mask and enjoying life and not thinking a step. I actually look a little, I don't mean to be judgmental, but when I see people like wearing masks, a P95 mask, driving their car and it's 75 degrees out, just like, I can't help it. I think, what a dummy.
Yeah. I know. I see it around here in Long Island as well. I see it all the time. See it everywhere. And I mean, it has gotten better. I mean, now I see people walking with their children, and pretty much everybody's maskless down here in the neighborhood. When I see families walking, most of the families are maskless. So things are, getting better.
Yeah, and if we could just keep Bill Gates out of reimagining New York, then I think that'll be our next big fight after this.
Yeah, I mean, they could have their schools,
Yeah, right?
Yeah, I mean, Bill Gates and Cuomo combination, I mean, it's just, how much worse can it get? So,
well, we have Big Pharma too, don't forget. We got Merck. We got Merck.
And the bottom line is, I really don't think school's going to open in 2020. I really think they're going to keep them shut down for most of next year.
Yeah, and I see that they're kind of starting, with Harvard to, start doing more vocal trashing of homeschooling. And I'm a homeschooling parent, so that should also be another interesting ride. And I hope that I'm able to make it into assembly, so at least I'll have one voice that will be standing strong in opposition of Andrew Cuomo and his insane dictatorship policies. And I hope that we certainly end. I know there's a bill right now to stop the executive order for his excessive powers, and I certainly hope that sees the light of day soon.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. We all hope that. We all
Yeah.
hope that.
Well, Jim, I thank you so much for joining us and clearing up so many questions I know people have about their rights and about opening businesses and what these things mean. And I really appreciate everything that you do for New York State all the time. You are
Thank you.
truly a blessing to every parent and person who actually cares about the Constitution. You know, conservatives are moving in droves, but some of us are not going to move anywhere. And we just really appreciate you so much for
Thank
taking
you.
this time and for everything you do, Jim.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
and we'll
you. Have a
talk
great
soon.
night.
You
Thank
too.
you.
Bye-bye.
Bye now. Bye.
All right, guys. So you heard it there. That was Jim Mermigis, and with the Mermigis Law Group. He's a civil rights attorney. And, you know, essentially, we have a lot of our constitutional rights being stepped on, and we're fools. We're believing it, we're buying it, and we're being forced into fear, wearing masks, keeping our business shut, opening when they say, you know, it's time to open up. It's time to open up upstate. Thank you guys for tuning in to CNY Voice, and I'll see you next Monday where we'll be discussing farming and the new CARES bill. Thank you.